Evan adjusted the strap of his pack and looked around the rocky terrain. The survey team had been sent to the outer moon to study the unusual mineral formations. But today, everything felt quiet. Almost too quiet. The wind cut across the hills, carrying a sharp, cold taste. Evan had been walking for hours, alone, scanning the area with his portable scanner, when a sudden loud crash echoed from the forested valley below. He froze. The sound had not come from the rocks or the wind. It was something alive, or at least something that had been alive until a moment ago. He ran toward the sound, careful to keep low among the rocks and brush. The forest was thick here, shadows falling across the ground in strange patterns. Leaves rustled, and something faintly metallic clanged against stone. Evan's heart beat faster. He had expected dangerous animals. Maybe a rock slide, but not this. Then he saw it, a silver, angular craft, partially collapsed and smoking. Pieces of metal and strange, glowing fragments were scattered around. A figure lay half-buried under the wreckage. Evan approached slowly. The figure was humanoid, but unlike any human he had seen. Her skin was a soft shade of blue, her eyes large and golden. Her armor, though cracked and scorched, reflected the faint sunlight. Blood oozed from a deep cut on her arm. She was breathing, but shallowly. "Hello?" Evan called softly, stepping closer. The alien stirred slightly, eyes fluttering open. Evan could see her pain, her struggle to focus. He swallowed hard and knelt beside her. "I'm here to help." The alien's gaze fixed on him for a moment, her golden eyes wide with fear and confusion. She made a low, clicking sound, but it did not seem threatening. Evan reached out carefully, resting his hand near her arm. "I won't hurt you, I promise." She shifted slightly, wincing at the movement. Evan grabbed his small medkit and quickly examined the wound. The cut was deep, but not fatal. He cleaned it with antiseptic and carefully wrapped it. "That should slow the bleeding," he said, trying to sound calm. The alien made another clicking sound, almost like a hiss, and weakly shook her head. Evan could tell she wanted to refuse, but her body was too weak to resist. He lifted her gently, trying to keep her from sliding. She flinched at the movement, but did not fight. Evan carried her down the slope, careful with every step. As they reached a small cave hidden among the rocks, he laid her down on a makeshift bed of cloths from his pack. She looked at him with those golden eyes, still wary, still trying to understand why he was helping her. "I don't know who you are," she whispered in broken words, her voice rough from pain. "Why? Why do you help?" Evan smiled faintly. "Because I can. Because you are hurt, and someone has to help you." He glanced at the wreckage outside the cave. "Your ship. You need to be safe before anyone finds you." The alien studied him, her eyes narrowing slightly, but not in anger. Evan didn't understand her expression, but he sensed that she was trying to decide whether he was dangerous or not. She shifted slightly, testing her strength. "You risk life," she said slowly. Her words were broken, but clear enough. "Why, risk life for me?" Evan paused. He had never thought about it this way. "Because it's the right thing to do," he said finally. "Because I couldn't just leave you there." The alien blinked, and then made a soft sound that almost sounded like laughter, though it was strange and musical. She relaxed a little, letting her head rest back. Evan noticed she was breathing easier now, though her arm still throbbed. He set down his medkit and offered her some water. She hesitated, then drank slowly, still cautious. The sun was beginning to set outside. The cave offered little warmth, but Evan found some extra blankets and wrapped them around her. He sat beside her, keeping watch. He wanted to ask more questions, but he knew she had been through trauma. Talking might make her worse, so he stayed silent, only keeping her covered, and checking her breathing. As night fell, the forest outside became alive with strange sounds. Small creatures scuttled in the shadows. The wind howled through the trees. Evan thought about the survey team he had left behind. They would never understand this. They were here to study rocks, not aliens. Not someone from another world who needed help. He wondered what would happen if someone discovered her, if the wrong people found her first. He looked back at her. Her eyes were closed now, and her breathing had slowed into a steadier rhythm. Her armor reflected the dim light of the cave. He wondered what kind of world she came from. What kind of people would wear such strong armor and carry such fierce weapons? He realized that she had probably fought battles he could not even imagine. And yet, here she was, injured, fragile, and trusting him enough to let him help. Evan felt a strange sense of responsibility. He had always thought of himself as just an engineer, a man who fixed machines and read data. But now, with this alien in front of him, he realized he could do more. He could save lives. He could be brave when it mattered. He could take risks for someone who could never repay him in ways he understood. The alien stirred again, her eyes half opening. She looked at him, and for a moment, Evan thought he saw something like understanding in her gaze. She made another soft sound, pointing to her side. Evan understood. She needed food. He rummaged through his pack and found some nutrient bars and water. She ate slowly, still watching him carefully. Name Lyra, she said finally, her voice still weak. I'm Evan, he replied. You're safe now. I'll make sure nothing happens to you. Lyra's eyes searched his face. She tilted her head slightly. You risk for me? Yes, Evan said simply. I couldn't leave you there. I couldn't just walk away. She was silent for a long time, only breathing. Then she made another sound, almost a hiss, and pressed her hand lightly against his arm. It was not much, but it was a gesture of trust. Evan felt a strange warmth in his chest. He had saved her, yes, but in doing so, he felt something else. Something like connection. Something that went beyond words. Night deepened around them. The wind continued to moan outside, and the strange forest sounds played their symphony. Evan stayed awake, checking on Lyra every few minutes. He thought about what he would do next. He needed to find a way to get her off this moon safely, to keep her hidden until she could return home. He did not know how, but he knew he could not leave her here. Hours passed. Lyra slept in a restless doze. Every now and then, she would stir and make a low sound, then settle back. Evan stayed close, holding a small light over her so she could see him. He thought about how fragile life could be, even for someone who looked so strong. And he thought about how small acts, helping, staying, protecting, could mean more than anyone realized. By the time the first rays of dawn touched the cave entrance, Evan had made his decision. He would stay with her, at least until she could move on. He would fight for her if he had to. He would not abandon her. She had trusted him in her moment of greatest need, and he would honor that trust. Lyra stirred and opened her eyes. She looked at him fully now, without fear, without suspicion. She seemed to study him, weighing him. Then she said softly, "You, strange, you, save, not for self?" Evan smiled. "I save because it's the right thing. That's all." She looked at him for a long moment, then slowly nodded. Evan didn't know what her nod meant. Not entirely. Perhaps it was approval. Perhaps it was gratitude. Or perhaps it was something deeper, something he could not yet understand. He helped her sit up slowly. "We need to think about where to go next," he said. "We can't stay here forever." Lyra's golden eyes met his. There was something in that gaze, something that made Evan's heart skip. He had risked his life for her, and somehow, in her strange way, she understood that. Somehow, she believed that he belonged beside her, and for reasons he could not yet explain, he felt that maybe, just maybe, he did too. The morning light fell on the cave walls, and Evan felt the weight of what was ahead. They had survived the night. They had made it through the crash. But the world outside was still dangerous, and there were challenges they had yet to face. Still, Evan knew one thing with certainty. He would not leave her. Not now. Not ever, if he could help it. And somehow, he had the feeling that this choice, this simple act of helping someone, would change both of their lives forever. Evan helped Lyra slowly to her feet. She still wobbled and leaned on him for support. Outside the cave, the forest looked less threatening in the morning light. But the crash site still smoldered in the distance. Pieces of her ship littered the ground, some glowing faintly. Evan knew they could not stay here for long. If anyone came searching for her, they might spot the wreckage. "We need to move," he said gently. "I have a place in mind. Not far from here. It's safer. Hidden." Lyra studied him carefully, her golden eyes alert. She still made small, cautious sounds, but she allowed him to lead her through the forest. Evan noticed the way she moved, graceful, even while injured, and he realized she must have been trained in combat or some kind of warrior skill. The journey was slow. Evan helped her over rocks, through streams, and past dense undergrowth. At one point, Lyra stumbled and fell into a shallow stream. Evan caught her quickly, holding her close until she regained her balance. She looked up at him with a mix of surprise and something he could not identify. Perhaps respect, perhaps gratitude. "You. Careful," she said, her voice soft. "You. Not afraid?" "I'm human," Evan said with a faint smile. They reached a small clearing a few hours later. Evan had scouted it the day before. A natural rock formation created a sheltered space, almost like a small grotto. He led Lyra inside and set down his pack. "This will be our base for now," he said. Lyra looked around, her expression unreadable. Then, she lowered herself to the ground, still wary. She extended her hands, as if checking that Evan would not strike. He shook his head. "I won't hurt you," he said. "You're safe here." She studied him for a long moment. Then, in a quiet voice, she said, "You. Strange. Humans, not usually, help like this." Evan shrugged. "I'm not most humans, I guess. I do what I think is right." Lyra tilted her head, golden eyes thoughtful. "You. Strong. Not only body. You. Heart. Strong." Evan felt a small warmth in his chest at her words. He wasn't sure if she meant it as praise or a simple observation, but it felt important. He decided to ignore the strangeness of her language and focus on helping her heal. Over the next few days, Evan took care of Lyra's wounds. He cleaned and rewrapped her arm, gave her water, and even found some edible plants to supplement the ration bars he had. Lyra began to regain strength, her movements becoming more confident. She still had moments of pain, but she no longer flinched at his touch. During this time, Evan tried to communicate with her more. Her language was broken, but he learned bits and pieces. She could say words like home, danger, friend, and fight. He discovered she understood some human gestures, like nodding for yes and shaking her head for no. One afternoon, as they rested near a small stream, Lyra finally spoke more fully. "You help me. Not only wounds. You care for me." Evan hesitated. He had not thought about it that way. "I care because you're hurt. That's all." She shook her head. "No, you care because me, not only wounds." Her golden eyes held his gaze. "You choose me. You risk life For me. Evan felt a strange mix of pride and confusion. He had never been seen like this before, not as someone brave or loyal, and certainly not by a warrior from another world. I didn't think about choosing, he admitted. I just did what I thought was right. Lyra studied him carefully. In my world, to risk life for another means bond. Strong bond. You, with me. Now? Evan was startled. He had not thought about it like that. I don't know, he said honestly. I only know I couldn't leave you there. She made a soft clicking sound, almost like a laugh, and leaned back against the rocks. Then, you belong near me, she said simply. Evan blinked. He had not expected that. The idea that she thought he belonged with her felt strange, but not unwelcome. He shook his head slightly, unsure how to respond. I'll stay close, he said finally. I'll protect you, as long as I can. Lyra nodded, apparently satisfied. For the first time, she relaxed completely. She lay back and closed her eyes, letting him watch over her. Evan sat nearby, his mind racing. He had saved her life, yes. But now he realized there was a new layer to their relationship. She trusted him, perhaps even believed he was meant to be with her in some way. The days passed. Evan and Lyra moved cautiously around the forest, gathering food and water. They practiced basic signals for communication. Evan found that she was quick to learn and had a sharp mind. She could assess dangers and react faster than he could. He began to admire her skill, even as he continued to protect her. One evening, while they rested near the stream, a distant roar echoed through the trees. Lyra's eyes snapped open. She sprang to her feet, body tense, muscles ready. Evan followed, heart pounding. From the sound, he could tell it was not an animal. It had intelligence, and it was coming closer. Coming, Lyra said sharply. Enemy. Want me. Evan's mind raced. He had suspected this might happen. She had mentioned danger from her people, but he had not realized how soon it would arrive. We'll have to hide, he said. Follow me. They moved quickly, Evan helping Lyra over rocks and fallen trees. She moved faster than before, though still careful with her injuries. They reached a small hollow where they could remain hidden. Through the leaves, they saw movement figures, armed and scanning the area. They were humanoid like Lyra, but darker skinned and wearing armor that marked them as hunters. Looking for you, Lyra whispered. They take me, fight me, want me. Evan nodded. I'll keep you safe. He had never fought anyone before in real danger, but he had tools and the element of surprise. He grabbed a long, sturdy branch and prepared to defend them. The alien hunters drew closer, stepping cautiously through the undergrowth. Evan held his breath. Lyra looked at him, her golden eyes sharp and fierce. Then she made a motion, pointing to him and then to herself. She seemed to be saying he should stay close, but not rush into the fight. When one of the hunters stepped too close, Evan swung the branch, striking the ground near them with a loud crack. The hunters froze, scanning the area. Lyra used the moment to grab a sharp rock and position herself, ready to defend if needed. The standoff lasted tense minutes. Then Evan noticed a small device on one of the hunters' belts. It looked like a signal device. If it activated, reinforcements would come. He made a decision. Quietly, he moved closer, tossing a small rock to distract the nearest hunter. When the hunter turned, Evan struck the device with his branch, smashing it. Sparks flew, and the device broke silently. Lyra looked at him, surprised. Then she let out a low, pleased sound. You, clever. You, brave. Evan shrugged, heart pounding. I'm just trying to help you. The hunters hesitated, then decided to retreat, disappearing into the forest. Lyra turned to Evan. "You risk life. For me. Again," she said. "You belong with me." Evan felt a warmth in his chest he could not explain. He had risked his life for her, not thinking about what it meant. Now, she believed he had made a choice, and in her world, that choice meant loyalty, commitment, and a bond stronger than words. Night fell again. Evan and Lyra returned to their hidden hollow. They ate some rations in silence, both aware that danger could return at any moment. But something had changed. Lyra no longer looked at him with suspicion. She looked at him with trust, respect, and something else he could not name. Evan sat back against the rock and watched her sleep. She was strong, fierce, and brave, but she was also vulnerable, and he realized that protecting her had become more than just a duty. It had become personal. As the stars appeared in the sky, Evan thought about the bond forming between them. He had not expected to connect with someone from another world, someone whose life he had saved. But now, in this small hollow, under the cold starlight, he felt it growing stronger. Lyra stirred and opened her eyes. She looked at him, and for a long moment, neither spoke. Then she said softly, "Tomorrow. We. Stronger. Together. Face them." Evan nodded. "Together," he agreed. He did not know what challenges lay ahead, but he knew one thing. He would not leave her. Not now. Not ever. If he could help it. And with that thought, he settled down to rest, keeping one eye open, ready for whatever danger might come. But he also felt something new: hope. Hope that in saving her, he had found someone who believed in him. Someone who might change his life forever. The morning air was cold and sharp. Evan woke first, as usual, listening to the faint sounds of the forest. He checked the hollow carefully. Lyra was still asleep, but her breathing was steady, stronger than before. She stirred occasionally, muttering in her strange language. Evan watched her, feeling a mix of admiration and concern. She was fierce, skilled, and brave, yet still young in her way, learning to trust someone outside her world. He waited until she was fully awake before speaking. "We should move," he said softly. "If they return, we can't stay here." Lyra's golden eyes blinked open. She stretched carefully, testing her arm. Then she nodded. "Yes. Move. Must. Stay hidden. Must. Strong." Evan helped her gather their small pack and supplies. They moved carefully through the forest, sticking to the shadows. Evan kept an eye on the terrain ahead, looking for natural cover, while Lyra scanned for threats, her senses sharp. They were quiet, aware that any sound could draw attention. By midday, they reached a narrow canyon with steep walls. Evan knew it could be a good hiding place. The canyon had a small stream, shade from the cliffs, and a narrow path leading further in, out of sight. "We can rest here for a while," he said. "It's safer. And we can figure out the next move." Lyra looked around, her golden eyes alert. "Good. Place. Hide. Strong. But. Enemies. Clever. May. Find." Evan nodded. "Then we'll stay ready. We move quietly. And we fight, only if we must." They settled near the stream. Evan refilled their water containers and gave Lyra a few edible plants he had gathered. She ate slowly, still cautious, but growing stronger each day. "You, always, ready," she said finally. "You, human, not like others. You, strong heart, strong mind." Evan smiled faintly. "I only do what I must. I don't think I'm special." Lyra tilted her head. "You, special. Not like others. You, different. Choose. Protect. Me. Evan looked away, unsure how to respond. He had risked his life for her, yes, but he had not thought it made him special. Now, she said it aloud, and it felt strange and powerful. As they rested, Lyra began to move more confidently. She practiced standing on the rocks, testing her balance, preparing for whatever might come. Evan watched her, realizing that she was learning from him as much as he was learning from her. He had never faced such a situation before, caring for someone from another world while navigating unknown dangers. Late in the afternoon, the sound of movement reached them again. Leaves rustled unnaturally, and distant footsteps echoed off the canyon walls. Evan froze. He knew this was not ordinary wildlife. He signaled to Lyra to stay low. She crouched beside him, golden eyes scanning the path. A group of alien hunters emerged, cautious but relentless. They were the same kind that had chased her before, wearing dark armor and carrying weapons that glinted in the sunlight. Evan felt a surge of fear but kept it under control. He had tools, wits, and determination. That had to be enough. They... Come again, Lyra whispered, her voice steady but tense. They want me. Capture. Fight. Evan nodded. We'll be ready. Stay close. The hunters moved closer, splitting into pairs, searching for any sign of them. Evan noticed one carrying a small scanner device, likely to detect life forms. He pointed subtly to Lyra. Everend. If they find you first, it's bad. We need to distract them. Slow them down. Lyra understood instantly. She picked up a loose rock and, with precise aim, tossed it to the side. The sound echoed, drawing the hunter's attention. Evan grabbed a branch and prepared to strike if they came closer. The first pair of hunters moved toward the noise, cautious but curious. Evan lunged forward, striking the ground near them with a loud crack. The hunters froze. Lyra moved silently, positioning herself to defend if needed. The standoff lasted tense moments. Then Evan noticed the small device again, the one that could signal reinforcements. He moved closer, careful not to attract attention, and smashed it with the branch. Sparks flew. The device was useless. Lyra let out a low sound of approval. Clever. Human. Brave. Evan nodded, heart racing. We need to keep moving. They may come back. They slipped deeper into the canyon, following a narrow, hidden path that Evan had scouted earlier. Lyra stayed close, her hand brushing against his for balance. Evan realized he had grown used to her presence, her trust, her need for him to protect her. He felt a strange bond forming, one he had not expected but could not ignore. As night fell, they found a small overhang along the canyon wall. It was sheltered from wind and rain, perfect for resting. Evan built a small fire for warmth, careful to keep it low so it would not attract attention. Lyra sat nearby, watching him, her golden eyes reflecting the flames. You, always, careful, she said softly. You, think, danger, first. You, human, different, strong. Evan smiled. I'm learning. I have to. I can't fail you. She tilted her head, studying him. You belong with me. You choice. Stand near me. You brave human. Evan felt a warmth in his chest. He had never been seen like this before. Not as someone brave or loyal. Not as someone who belonged with another. Now she said it aloud, and it felt strange, powerful, and important. The night passed quietly. They took turns keeping watch. Evan noticed how much he relied on her presence, her silent strength, and her fierce courage. He realized that their bond had grown stronger through danger and shared survival. By dawn, they moved again. The canyon led to a small plateau, hidden from view. Evan scanned the area carefully. He needed to find a safer place, somewhere Lyra could recover fully, and where they could plan their next move. As they moved, Lyra suddenly paused. She raised her hand and pointed toward a distant ridge. Evan followed her gaze and saw movement another group of hunters, but this one larger, more organized. They had come in force. Many, want me, Lyra said, voice tight with tension. We must fight or hide. Evan considered their options. They could try to hide, but with so many hunters, it was unlikely to succeed. They could fight, but they were outnumbered and under-equipped. He needed a plan. Follow me, he said firmly. We'll use the terrain. Narrow paths, rocks. We can slow them. Then we move fast. Lyra nodded, trusting him completely. She knew he was not like other humans, that he could think, adapt, and survive. She had seen it. She had felt it. They moved quickly but carefully through the rocky terrain. Evan pointed out high rocks where Lyra could gain an advantage. She climbed silently, watching the hunters approach. Evan used a combination of rocks and fallen branches to create obstacles, slowing their pursuers. The first encounter came sooner than expected. One hunter stumbled near them, alerted by the noise. Lyra leaped down with surprising speed, striking the hunter with precise force. Evan watched, heart pounding. She was deadly and efficient, yet she had restrained herself when she could. Careful, he whispered. We can't waste strength. Lyra nodded, then signaled him to follow. They moved through a narrow crevice, using the natural formation to block the hunters. Evan felt a surge of respect for her skill. She was a warrior, trained and sharp, yet she had trusted him to guide her through unfamiliar territory. Hours passed as they evaded the hunters, moving silently, striking only when necessary. Evan realized how much he had changed. He was no longer just an engineer or a survivor. He was a protector, a companion, someone who could face danger and make split-second decisions, and in doing so, he had gained something unexpected: Lyra's trust and belief in him. By evening, they found a small cave deeper in the canyon. It was hidden, with a small stream nearby. Evan helped Lyra settle in, giving her water and checking her wounds. She looked at him, eyes tired but alert. You, brave, she said softly. Evan felt a deep warmth. He had not expected this bond, this recognition, from someone so different, someone so skilled and fierce. He had risked his life for her, and now she saw him as a partner, someone who could stand beside her. He nodded slowly. I'll stay. I'll stand with you. As long as I can. Lyra's eyes softened, and she leaned back against the rocks, resting. For the first time in days, she seemed calm. Evan stayed nearby, alert but content, knowing that together they could face whatever danger came next. As night fell, the forest around them grew quiet. Stars appeared in the sky above the canyon walls. Evan realized that their journey was far from over. Danger would return. Challenges would come. But now, they were not alone. They had each other. And in that moment, Evan understood something he had not before. Sometimes, the smallest acts choosing to protect, to care, to stay, could create the strongest bonds, even across worlds.